Welcome to Curiosity, the podcast where science meets wonder. Join us as we explore the fascinating, the innovative, and the unexpected, from the secrets of the cosmos to the marvels of everyday life. Each episode takes you on a journey to uncover the knowledge and stories that fuel our endless quest for understanding. Let your curiosity guide you.
Bronze Age, rise, glory, and the collapse that shaped civilization. The Bronze Age, a pivotal era in human history, marked the transition from the simpler tools of the Stone Age to more advanced technologies and complex societies. Spanning roughly from 3300 BCE to 1200 BCE, its onset was defined by the discovery and widespread use of bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, which revolutionized various aspects of life. This transformative period was not uniform across the globe. Its timeline and developments varied significantly depending on the region. However, it was universally characterized by significant advancements in metallurgy, trade, warfare, and the establishment of the earliest urban civilizations. The origins of the Bronze Age can be traced to the ancient Near East, where the technique of alloying copper with tin was first discovered. Early metallurgists realized that bronze was harder and more durable than pure copper, making it ideal for tools, weapons, and other implements. This innovation quickly spread across Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and the Indus Valley, where abundant resources of copper and tin facilitated the production of bronze on a larger scale. The superior quality of bronze tools enabled more efficient agriculture, leading to surplus food production, which in turn supported population growth and urbanization. In Mesopotamia, the Bronze Age coincided with the rise of some of the world's first city-states, such as Uruk, and Lagash. These cities, nestled in the fertile lands of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, became centers of innovation and power. The surplus of agricultural products allowed for the diversification of labor, with specialized professions such as craftsmen, traders, and scribes emerging. The invention of cuneiform writing in this period transformed record-keeping, enabling the documentation of trade, laws, and historical events. The Sumerians, who dominated southern Mesopotamia, developed advanced irrigation systems and monumental architecture, such as the ziggurats, which symbolized their religious devotion and centralized authority. The Indus Valley civilization, contemporaneous with Mesopotamia, was another hallmark of the Bronze Age. Located in modern-day Pakistan and northwest India, this civilization boasted sophisticated urban planning, including well-organized streets, advanced drainage systems, and standardized weights and measures. Cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa flourished as hubs of trade, connecting the Indus Valley to Mesopotamia and beyond. While much of their script remains undeciphered, archaeological evidence suggests a society deeply engaged in craft production, metallurgy, and long-distance commerce, particularly in precious stones and metals. In Egypt, the Bronze Age witnessed the consolidation of pharaonic power and the construction of monumental achievements like the pyramids of Giza. The mastery of bronze tools facilitated the precision and scale required for these massive architectural endeavors. This period also saw the expansion of Egyptian influence through trade and conquest, with connections extending to the Levant, Nubia, and even the Aegean. The wealth and stability of the Egyptian state during the Old and Middle Kingdoms were underpinned by agricultural surplus, bolstered by the reliable flooding of the Nile. The Aegean world, encompassing Crete, mainland Greece, and the Cyclades, entered its own Bronze Age around 3000 BCE. The Minoans, based on Crete, became a dominant maritime power, with their sophisticated palatial complexes like Knossos showcasing advanced engineering and artistic achievements. Minoan society was deeply intertwined with trade, importing raw materials such as copper and tin and exporting crafted goods, pottery, and textiles. Their influence extended to the Mycenaeans on mainland Greece, who adopted many elements of Minoan culture while developing their own distinct identity. The Mycenaeans would later emerge as the dominant power in the Aegean, playing a crucial role in the Late Bronze Age. The Bronze Age was also characterized by significant advancements in warfare and weaponry. The introduction of bronze weapons, such as swords, spears, and shields, gave rise to more organized and lethal armies. Chariots, which first appeared in Mesopotamia and later spread to other regions, revolutionized combat, offering mobility and tactical advantages. The rise of fortified cities and the development of complex military strategies were direct responses to the increasing scale and intensity of conflicts during this period. Trade networks expanded dramatically during the Bronze Age, fostering cultural and technological exchanges between distant regions. The discovery of bronze itself necessitated long-distance trade, as tin, a crucial component, was relatively scarce and had to be imported from regions like Anatolia, Afghanistan, and possibly even Britain. These networks not only facilitated the spread of goods but also ideas, artistic motifs, and technological innovations, creating a web of interconnected civilizations. Despite its many advancements, the Bronze Age was not without challenges. Societies faced environmental pressures, such as droughts and resource depletion, which strained agricultural production. Social inequalities became more pronounced, with elites controlling the surplus wealth generated by trade and agriculture. The concentration of power in the hands of a few often led to internal conflicts and the eventual decline of some civilizations. The height of the Bronze Age marked an era of unprecedented cultural, technological, and political achievements across various civilizations. This period was defined by the flourishing of empires, the expansion of trade networks, and the growing interconnectedness of distant regions. The exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies between these societies created a rich tapestry of shared innovations and rivalries, as the quest for resources and power became increasingly pronounced. In Mesopotamia, the Bronze Age reached its zenith during the Akkadian and Babylonian empires. Sargon of Akkad, often considered the world's first emperor, unified a vast territory spanning from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. The Akkadian Empire's success was largely due to its military innovations, such as composite bows and bronze weapons, as well as its sophisticated administrative systems. Sargon's successors continued to maintain control through a combination of force and diplomacy, facilitating cultural and technological exchanges across their domain. The later Babylonian Empire, under leaders like Hammurabi, further consolidated power and legal authority. Hammurabi's Code, one of the earliest known sets of laws, exemplified the complexity of governance and justice during this era, balancing the interests of the elite with those of common citizens. In Egypt, the Middle and New Kingdoms represented the height of Bronze Age civilization along the Nile. The New Kingdom, in particular, was marked by the expansion of Egyptian influence into the Levant and Nubia. Pharaohs like Thutmose III and Ramses II led military campaigns that solidified Egypt as a dominant regional power. These conquests were supported by the technological superiority of bronze weapons and the strategic use of chariots. Egyptian art and architecture flourished during this time, with monumental structures such as the temples of Karnak and Luxor standing as testaments to the wealth and power of the pharaohs. The era also witnessed a vibrant exchange of ideas and goods, as evidenced by the Amarna letters, diplomatic correspondence that highlights Egypt's extensive interactions with neighboring states. The Aegean world reached its cultural and economic peak during the Late Bronze Age. The Minoans on Crete continued to dominate maritime trade, linking the eastern Mediterranean to the Aegean and beyond. Their palaces, particularly Knossos, were centers of administration, trade, and artistic production. Minoan frescoes and pottery showcase a society deeply connected to the sea and nature, reflecting their reliance on trade and the bounty of their island environment. Meanwhile, the Mycenaeans on mainland Greece adopted and adapted Minoan influences, creating a militaristic culture centered around fortified palaces such as Mycenae and Pylos. The Mycenaeans established themselves as prominent players in the eastern Mediterranean, engaging in trade and conflict with civilizations as far afield as Egypt and Anatolia. In the Near East, the Hittite Empire emerged as a powerful force in Anatolia, rivaling both Egypt and Mesopotamia. The Hittites were skilled metallurgists, producing high-quality bronze weapons and tools that supported their military campaigns and economic expansion. Their strategic location allowed them to control key trade routes, facilitating the flow of tin and copper essential for bronze production. The Battle of Kadesh, fought between the Hittites and Egyptians, exemplified the scale and sophistication of late Bronze Age warfare. Although the battle ended in a stalemate, it resulted in one of the first recorded peace treaties, highlighting the diplomatic complexities of the time. Further east, the Indus Valley civilization continued to thrive, with cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa serving as centers of trade and innovation. The standardization of weights and measures, advanced urban planning, and intricate drainage systems underscore the technological prowess of this society. The Indus people maintained trade connections with Mesopotamia and the Persian Gulf, exchanging goods such as lapis lazuli, carnelian, and textiles. Although their script remains undeciphered, the archaeological record suggests a highly organized and prosperous civilization that played a crucial role in the broader Bronze Age world. The Bronze Age also saw the expansion of trade networks into Europe, where societies began to adopt bronze metallurgy. The Onetis culture in Central Europe and the Wessex culture in Britain exemplified the spread of Bronze Age technologies and practices. These communities engaged in long-distance trade, exchanging amber, tin, and other goods with Mediterranean and Near Eastern civilizations. The construction of monumental structures like Stonehenge during this period reflects the growing social complexity and ritual practices of European societies. Religious and cultural developments during the Bronze Age were equally transformative. Temples and religious centers became focal points of urban life, serving as hubs of both spiritual and economic activity. The worship of deities associated with natural forces, such as the sun, storms, and fertility, reflected the close relationship between these societies and their environments. Artistic expressions, including intricate metalwork, pottery, and frescoes, flourished, often depicting religious motifs, daily life, and mythical narratives. Writing systems, such as cuneiform in Mesopotamia and hieroglyphs in Egypt, evolved to meet the demands of increasingly complex societies, recording everything from trade transactions to epic tales like the Epic of Gilgamesh. However, the interconnectedness that defined the height of the Bronze Age also made these civilizations vulnerable. The reliance on trade for essential resources, particularly tin, created dependencies that could be disrupted by natural disasters, political instability, or conflict. Environmental changes, such as droughts and shifts in climate, began to strain agricultural systems and challenge the stability of societies. Additionally, the growing complexity of these civilizations introduced internal tensions, as disparities in wealth and power became more pronounced. The end of the Bronze Age was marked by a series of catastrophic events that disrupted civilizations across the Mediterranean, Near East, and beyond. Known as the Late Bronze Age collapse, this period, occurring around 1200 BCE, saw the fall of powerful empires, the abandonment of cities, and the decline of long-standing trade networks. While the exact causes remain debated, scholars agree that a combination of factors, natural disasters, economic instability, invasions, and internal strife, created a perfect storm that brought this golden age to a dramatic close. One of the most visible aspects of the collapse was the sudden disappearance or weakening of major civilizations. In the Near East, the Hittite Empire, once a formidable power in Anatolia, disintegrated under the weight of internal rebellions and external invasions. Their capital, Hattusa, was abandoned and burned, leaving only ruins to mark their former dominance. Similarly, the Mycenaean civilization in mainland Greece experienced widespread destruction, as palaces like Mycenae and Pylos were sacked and never rebuilt. The Mycenaeans, who had thrived on a militaristic and hierarchical society, succumbed to internal unrest and invasions by unknown forces, often referred to as the Sea Peoples. The Sea Peoples, a mysterious confederation of maritime raiders, are frequently cited as a key factor in the collapse. These groups, whose origins remain unclear, launched devastating attacks on coastal cities across the eastern Mediterranean. Egyptian records, including the inscriptions of Pharaoh Ramses III, describe fierce battles with the Sea Peoples, who attempted to invade Egypt during his reign. While Egypt managed to repel these invasions, the effort severely weakened the new kingdom, leading to a decline in its power and influence. The once mighty pharaohs lost control over vast territories, and internal political instability grew. Trade networks, the lifeblood of the Bronze Age economy, were also severely disrupted. The interconnectedness of civilizations that had fostered prosperity now became a liability. The reliance on imported tin for bronze production, for example, created vulnerabilities when trade routes were severed. The collapse of major hubs like Ugarit in the Levant, a key player in maritime trade, further exacerbated the economic turmoil. Archaeological evidence shows that Ugarit was destroyed suddenly, with letters from its rulers pleading for military assistance left unsent, frozen in time. Natural disasters compounded these crises. Climate change, possibly in the form of prolonged droughts, led to widespread famine and agricultural collapse. Pollen analyses and sediment studies from the region suggest that a significant shift in climate occurred during this period, reducing crop yields and forcing migrations. Earthquakes also played a role, as many cities in the eastern Mediterranean show evidence of destruction attributed to seismic activity. These natural events not only devastated local populations but also undermined the stability of already strained political and economic systems. The social fabric of Bronze Age civilizations unraveled as elites lost their grip on power. The centralized governments that had managed resources and organized labor for large-scale projects, such as palaces and temples, became unable to function effectively. The decline of these institutions led to a fragmentation of society, with smaller, localized communities emerging in their place. Literacy rates plummeted as the administrative systems that supported writing fell apart. In the Aegean, the loss of Mycenaean script, Linear B, marked a regression in cultural complexity, plunging the region into a dark age that lasted for centuries. Despite the widespread destruction, the Bronze Age collapse was not the end of human civilization but rather a transformation. The chaos gave rise to new societies and innovations. In Greece, for example, the fall of the Mycenaeans eventually led to the emergence of city-states like Athens and Sparta during the Archaic and Classical periods. These city-states would go on to redefine governance, art, and philosophy. Similarly, in the Near East, the collapse paved the way for the rise of new powers, such as the Neo-Assyrian Empire and later the Persian Empire, which would dominate the region. The legacy of the Bronze Age also endured in the technological and cultural advancements it had achieved. The knowledge of bronze metallurgy persisted, even as iron began to replace it as the dominant material for tools and weapons in the ensuing Iron Age. Artistic styles, religious practices, and literary traditions from the Bronze Age continued to influence later societies, ensuring that its cultural achievements were not forgotten. The Bronze Age collapse remains one of the most fascinating and complex events in human history, highlighting the fragility of interconnected systems and the resilience of human societies in the face of adversity. The period's sudden end marked both a conclusion and a beginning, a testament to the cyclical nature of human progress and decline.